I was so happy to see you. Michael and I went to the Reds game on Saturday. And as soon as they announced the little nugget contest, Mike jumped up, loosened the belt. He was ready to go. And then, of course, I had to tell him it wasn't that kind of nugget contest.
Just for the record, my Nuggets would have won.
I know. I don't doubt it for a minute. Anyway, it was a good game. I mean,
It was.
kind of a slow burn, but a good game nonetheless.
Yeah. No, it was a good time.
Did your Skyline
The
chili nachos?
the Skyline chili nachos, which I kind of regretted, only because I couldn't taste them. I'm still
Sometimes you just
sick.
got to imagine. Remember when you were a little, did you ever do that when you were a little kid? If your parents made you eat food you didn't like, you just pretended it was something else. Hey,
Well, of
have these Brussels
course,
sprouts.
it never worked.
It never worked, but in my mind, I tried to make it pepperoni pizza or something I like. Anyway, he's
Yeah.
Mike Swift. I'm Stephen Lewis. A
Hello.
couple of radio dudes who, complain about life and talk about things in general. And that being the case, I believe it is your turn to let us know what's on your mind tonight.
My what's on my mind is we're old, Stephen Lewis. We are old.
As I sit here with an ice pack on my back, I can't really put up much of an argument about this today.
Having issues with your back, are you?
I stepped wrong. I went boxing, but before I even went boxing, I was walking Peaches, and there's a part of the concrete that's uneven, and I always forget about it. And it just, how you like go to step and all of a sudden you just drop a little bit. I just dropped a little bit, and all of a sudden I felt it in my back for a second, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to be doing the senior citizen walk in another hour or so. So since then, I have done
Yeah,
a
buddy.
super hot shower, massage chair, hot treatment, and now I'm on a cold treatment. So I've got a big block of ice on my lower back. It's embarrassing, but nobody has to see it, so we're good.
Certainly didn't have a problem telling everyone about it, but that's
Oh,
okay.
What is that candle? Icy hot. that's the that's my new fragrance. It's minty, sure is.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my. Oh
You
my.
know,
Which is, I guess, a little bit of karma for
I know.
giving me crap about wearing a copper fit, which
This is karma.
I don't care. And I
Why?
still don't think there's a problem with it.
You know, such is life.
Mm.
Anyway, what's on your mind?
What's on my mind is the fact that we are old. I am approaching a certain age. So I realized just how old we really are. I was looking over just through old music, and I was looking at uh just through, some of the songs that I have in my playlists, and started to get curious. And I'm like, how old is this song? And I realize,
Don't ever do that.
oh, but I did. But I did. I like, for an example, let me see. I realized California Love, Tupac and Dr. Dre.
1994.
Well, according to the lists that I have, it's on 96, which makes it a couple of years younger, but nonetheless 30 years old.
1995 because the line, the song.
Let me edit. Because to kind of base the reference, I was looking up old Billboard top tens.
Yeah. Now it's 95 and they clock me and watch me diamond shine and look like a Rob Liberace.
Mm.
It's all good from Diego to the Bay. The city is your bomb if your city making you pay. Throw up a finger if you feel the same way. Dre putting it down for California. And then you
Oh,
get the
look
auto
at
tune.
you.
California.
Oh, please don't ever. Oh my.
Don't act like you
Please.
didn't want to jump in.
I was about to, but I figured, you know what, I'd step back and let you do your thing. Besides, if I do it, the delay between the two of us is just going to make it sound really awful in post. So I just
Oh,
decided not to.
little echo.
Um, like even 1979, Smashing Pumpkins.
Hmm.
It was on the Billboard 30 years ago this year.
Yeah, sucks, right?
It just makes me realize like some of my favorite songs make me feel old as crap. And
Well,
I guess by definition, if we could take now and go back, God, how can I set this right? It would make sense. If we could take music from 2026, go back in time and set it in the genre of its time, they would be oldies.
they would for sure. Yeah, because if you were in 2000s, the 70s were classic rock, which
Mm-hmm.
was 30 years ago. But now, not grunge is technically by definition of time is classic rock, even though it's not really classified that way.
Right.
I used to have that argument all the time, with that's going to start me down a bad path, so we won't go there. But even like Usher, yeah, still a dance
Yes.
floor anthem. Song is 22 years old. Came out in 2004. So yeah, I mean, but I also think too, if you think about it though, it's a testament to what music was as opposed to what music is. And I pick on her a
Yes.
lot, but is anybody going to give two flying F's about a Tate McRae song 20 years from now?
Probably not.
Probably not. But, you remember all that stuff, even the stuff that you know, I would have given probably a lot of garbage and probably spewed a lot of venom at from the early 2000s. I would argue now that it's probably still better than most of the stuff that has come out today. And I honestly think that music stopped really being good. And I'll give you the 2017 or 18. After that, I think it's all been just very disposable and very not long lasting. Like those songs, I mean,
Hmm.
there's a reason. Like I'll use a rock station for example. If Man in the Box comes on a rock station, you're probably still listening to it. You don't hear that song
Y-
and go, "Oh, not this again."
Not again. Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is a valid point. I will give to you there.
And I think now I will say I think country music keeps getting better, and I say that because I think country now. If you look at Ella Langley is across every genre right now. And I think
Hmm.
country has somehow along the way figured out that, hey, we've always been able to, because the one thing programming a radio station against country music, I hated it because country takes old, like most of the cases, like your typical top 40 station, you're basically targeting females. Men, you can come along for the ride, but we really don't care what you think. Rock stations the same way. You're targeting mostly men. Females can come
Men.
along for the ride, but we really don't care what you think.
Mm.
Country
Right.
was the one thing that old, young, you know, women, men, kids,
Right.
country's finally, I think, started in the last probably 15 years or so to really understand the power of its broad reach that it comes across because everybody, at some point in time, most people have a country station on one of their presets or a couple of country songs on their PlayStation or playlist. I mean, even the country artist, you might not like Morgan Wallen, but there's probably a good chance that you might like Riley Green or Keith Urban or somebody else or Luke Combs or whoever. You know what I
Love Morgan Wallen.
mean? I'm sure you do.
I do.
But it's just kind of it is interesting, but I just think some of those songs from longer ago have a better staying power than what happens now. And I don't, and again, maybe see some of these artists 20 years from now will have stood the test of time, but I haven't seen, I mean, The Weeknd. How hot was The Weeknd 10 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
How hot is The Weeknd now? Anybody jamming
Not so
Weeknd?
much.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody jamming Weeknd songs all over the place? Probably
I
not so
am,
much.
but I'm that guy.
Right.
I'm
But I
I'm,
mean,
I'm always listening to
even
something different.
look at Bruno Mars. Even Bruno Mars is trying to duplicate a sound that's 30 or 40 years older than he is.
But but I feel like Bruno Mars, that's kind of been Bruno
Correct.
Mars's
It's his thing.
thing. It's always it's a particular sound of an old era, but he kind of changes it because it's kind of evolved a little bit
Right.
every so often.
But I just think for whatever reason, those records, I mean, even now, look at all the nostalgia acts that go out there. Look how successful, like, I keep wanting to say Avril Lavigne, and that's not really the case. But look at all the nostalgia act, the When We Were Young festival, which is all those emo punk bands from the early 2000s. That thing sells out every year,
Yeah.
because people
But
still dig.
nostalgia sells though.
It
But
does.
it,
It
it,
does.
it even and it does give an angle of learning to experiencing for the first time for someone who might be new to some of the music that they'd be experiencing. But nostalgia in itself sells. Like you can always like remember the old rock compilation album that you could get when we were kids, the commercial that would come on with the old rock
Freedom Rock.
compilations.
Freedom
Yeah,
Rock. There was what
yeah.
was there was Freedom Rock, and then because there was always the one like two dudes with the mullet. What are you listening to? Freedom Rock. Well,
Freedom
crank it
Rock.
up. And then
But
I used to love the
it was
Monster Ballads commercial. Every rocker has a soft side.
oh, the monster ballads. I almost forgot about that. But my point is those albums generated nostalgia for deep rock
Well,
fans
they do, but
of that age.
I always understood why the hairband thing lasted a really long time, and those guys still can. I mean, they're probably making a pretty good living for themselves. They're not selling out Madison Square Garden, but they're selling
No.
out smaller venues because all those people who were in their teenage years in the mid to late 80s when those bands were really peaking, either their parents wouldn't give them their money for concert tickets to go or their parents wouldn't let them go. So they missed all those arena shows, but now they've
Hmm.
finally got the money to go see them wherever they are now. So there's a following there. And I honestly think that just music was better then for whatever reason. And a lot of it is, radio's fault to an extent and,
Hmm.
social media's fault to an extent. And it's just not quite, I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words without slamming people. So I'm not going to do that. But I just think the product back then was overall a better product. And I think
Hmm.
that's what's lacking now. I mean, name a outside of Taylor Swift and even her, like I could shoot holes. I mean, I can't shoot holes in what she's done financially, but come on, anybody with real taste knows that last album wasn't exactly, a banger, so to speak, as opposed when you put it up against some of the other stuff that she's done. But you can't say that because, oh my God, the wrath of the Swifties or whatever else. But I think like take away her, name another artist who in the pop world in the last 10 years has had a massive impact. And I don't think there is one. Olivia Rodrigo, okay, sure. Sabrina Carpenter, okay, maybe to an extent. But I'm talking like an overall like mass, you know what I mean? Like even go back to the early 2000s, the boy bands, hate them or love them. Boy bands made an impact. I mean, the BSB is still making music to this day for what, you know what I mean? And they're in their 50s. Like it's just there's not been an artist that has really had oh wow, I can't wait till their next song or next album comes out. You just don't get that anymore. I mean, even Ed Sheeran had that for a minute, but it's kind of gone. I mean, if Ed Sheeran dropped an album tomorrow, do you really care? And I love Ed Sheeran. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just kind of you're not seeing that, like it was back in the day when everybody was releasing, you know, I think they made they made a better product and they made you miss them more because they
Yeah.
because they took a break. But it is scary if you look at records and see how old they actually are.
That just blew my mind. Speaking of just those crazy, pop bands and whatnot, Spice Girls, Wannabe,
96,
30 years old.
96.
30 years old.
Yeah,
And it just made me realize, holy crap, man, I'm old.
absolutely. All that stuff is. Yeah, all that stuff is. Even the stuff that, you know, like from the late 90s, early 2000s, all that stuff is like in their 20s now, which, I mean, NSYNC is 20, what? NSYNC stopped in 2003. So all their
Mhm.
stuff is 25 plus years old now from when it first came out. I think Tearing Up My Heart was like 98 or 99. So yeah.
Um, there was one of their songs that I remember playing at the Fox when I was interning there. Like I remember um God, is it I Want You Back?
Probably. That would be about right. But
Yeah, it was.
but even some of those artists though now, like I'm a diehard Foo Fighters fan. I love the Foos, but I would rather hear catalog Foos than any new music from the Foos. Like I mean, I'll listen to
Yeah,
the music
yeah.
that comes out, but I'm always going to be like, this isn't Everlong. This isn't
But
There
but
Goes
you
My
couldn't
Hero.
you couldn't you almost put that into perspective with any band or any act for that matter? Like
Uh,
anybody that you've grown up listening to, you always seem to circle back to that first album
that's fair.
or
I'm trying to think of
you know
somebody.
what I
That's a
mean?
fair assessment. Yeah,
I
that's a
can't
fair
think of
assessment.
anybody where it's like, oh my God, their new stuff from now is it just as good as it was to me as it was 30 years
Um,
ago.
you know who I like, and I'll get a lot of crap for this. Lincoln Park with Emily Armstrong as a female singer. I like their new stuff because I think their sound, like it still sounds like them, but it's evolved a little bit. So, but I mean, is it ever going to be as good as their catalog? Probably not. But I
Okay, by the way, to the Swifties and the Lincoln Park fans, he is at Stephen Lewis on air. send him send him your hates. your but
nah,
anyway.
I'm trying to think of somebody who's like their stuff gets better as it goes, and maybe a couple of country artists I can say that about. Like I think I like Keith Urban's. I think I like Keith Urban's newer stuff than I do his older stuff. But
That's fair.
that also could be because I was not a big Keith Urban fan during his older
Yeah.
stuff.
And it would be fair to say well, I've always been just a music lover. Like you put on anything, I'm going to try and find something about what you're playing that I like or that
Mm-hmm.
sticks out to me. But I think I enjoy music at a broader scale now. I appreciate it more
Oh, I
than I did.
100% do. I had this
Hmm.
discussion on the air on a morning show on when I was doing the rock morning show. I didn't like Nirvana when they came out. I do remember, I will give them credit though. The first time I ever heard Smells Like Teen Spirit, I was like, okay, this is different. This is gonna,
Yeah.
this is gonna. But I had more of an appreciation for Nirvana years after than I did when I was younger.
I think like no, I liked Nirvana when they came out, but I think it took like a good 10 years for me to have a deeper appreciation for their music, even, you know.
But see, I think a friend of mine and I were having a conversation about this once, and there was like kind of a grunge divide where you were like a Nirvana, Pearl Jam side of grunge, and then there was the Alice in Chains and Soundgarden side of grunge, and I was more that side. Like I was more of the Alice in Chains and Soundgarden side of grunge, just because like
Okay.
when I heard Closer, that dum,
Mm.
dum, you know what I mean? Like that was, and then I think I remember seeing it in the movie is when it really hit me. There's a great movie. It'll get a lot, people will give it a lot of crap. Wesley Snipes is a baseball player, and Robert De Niro is a psych. It's called The Fan. He's a psychotic
Yeah.
fan,
Yeah, I remember that
and
movie.
Closer by Alice in Chains was like the theme in the trailer, and I think it's in the movie too. And it was just kind
Closer,
of like
closer was Nine Inch Nails.
that's what I mean. Or, did I say Alice in Chains? Sorry, I meant Nine Inch Nails. Closer was in the trailer, and it just like when you hear that, like how evil that song sounds when you put it in the perspective of a serial killer is like it's the background for like a serial. I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
it's like I was,
So,
but I was that side.
oh
Like I
no,
have
go.
friends of mine that love Pearl Jam, and I'm like, whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not my cup of tea.
When I was spinning at in bars to close out the night, I would play Alicia Keys' "No One" and and just pitch it up just ever so slightly, and it mixed perfectly with Closer.
Sure. Nice.
just just because my twisted mind was like, oh, you're here, you are all deeply in love, and now you want to, yeah. Anyway, but
I get it.
that was my, yeah.
I get it. But yeah, the whole musical thing is interesting to see. And I guess only time will tell of what artists from now will, I guess have that same impact. But you just don't, even artists from go back 10 years and they seem more to fade away than you really want to hear stuff from them again. Remember Chainsmokers almost 10 years ago? Chainsmokers was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care now? Maybe not.
You know what? It's funny that it I saw a meme, and it said it was the chain smokers, and it was like these two guys. What it said something about these two guys showed up and basically saying that they dropped a lot of hits, made a lot of money, and disappeared just as
Right.
fast as they showed up.
But even on the female side, Kesha and Katy Perry both go back to the early 2000s or between, we'll say, circa 2007 or 8 to 2012, everywhere. Now, not so much.
Kesha, though, I say that was probably in part her own doing, though,
So was
to
Katy
an
Perry.
extent.
So was Katy Perry.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Katy Perry threw everything she had into Hillary Clinton during that election. And it was never the same after that.
Yep.
Which, teach their own. But yeah, it's just, but I mean, I'm just saying, you just don't see those artists that have that kind of an impact like they used to. At least I don't think so. If somebody can point one out, I'm happy to have it pointed out to me, and I'll admit that I'm wrong.
I mean, outside of, I would say, Taylor Swift, and I think even then she's managed to be very careful and which everything that she does is very careful and calculated in particular. But eh, when she endorsed Kamala Harris, for example, she was very selective in the way she did it, and I want to say it was like pretty much the 0 hour when she gave the endorsement.
It was.
It and just I don't know. I would say Taylor Swift would be the celebrity that has that kind of power, but she chooses not to really she really chooses not to stay in that arena.
No, it's tough, which is the arena that I'm about to kind of jump into.
Oh boy, here we go. What's on your mind?
Well, um, I don't like the way things in this country are. I don't like the way they've been going. I haven't liked it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back years and years and years. Like I've been accused of being, you know, a bleeding heart liberal, which I am very much not. I am a fire every goddamn one of them and start over kind of mentality. That's because I don't think either side in the last 20 years has really worked for anybody. And I don't think that, like, it amazes me to watch people who think that millionaires and billionaires truly care for a second about the plight of your life and whether or not you can afford things or do things or whatever. I have always believed that there has still been a lot of deep rooted problems that we haven't gotten past. Like it used to amaze me that 15 or 20 years ago we still haven't been able to get past the color of a person's skin, whatever color that is. That I just feel like we should have moved past that by now. And that might be the fact that I was always brought up to choose character over color, because I'm a firm believer that all the money in the world doesn't necessarily buy you class or make you a better person. And I think there's examples of that across the board on television. But what bothered me was an image. Do you know who Justin Jones is?
Yes, sir. He's a state representative.
He is the state representative for Tennessee. And as soon as
Tennessee. I'm
this,
sorry, I should have.
and as soon as the Supreme Court, which don't get me started on the Supreme Court, the fact that that organization or that body of power is a lifetime appointment has been the root of most of this country's problems for the better part of 30 or 40 years. That should not be a lifetime appointment. And now you're stuck with, like, just, and I watched the people after the fact, but if you go back to the 60s, you saw pictures of black people not being able to get into places because of white people standing in their way, and it was the sentiment of you don't belong here. And as soon as the Supreme Court struck down the Voting Rights Act, because on their idea was, well, we don't really need that anymore. Like, I think in the last couple of weeks has been a glaring example of exactly why you do need it before. Because I don't want to live in an Aryan nation where everything is controlled by one side. Our best times have come from the fact that things are balanced. And I think we've lost that for a while. And the image of Justin Jones not being able to get into the room to vote where his district is essentially being shut out because there was a white sergeant of arms blocking him. And I put the image up so people can take a look at it. That picture just speaks volumes without saying a word. And what's on my mind is, as a African American male, what do you think about that? Because I can't really, I mean, I can say what I think, but it's never going to hit me the same way that hits you. But just to watch how the South is just changing everything, and I don't necessarily know if it's for the better or not. It's just kind of a place in the country that I never expected us to be at. I thought would move past that. And it kind of disgusts me a little bit that we haven't, but I'm just curious to see what you think, because it just directly affects you more than it does me, because I would imagine that you probably would wonder, well, what happens when they start doing it in other places, like the place that I live?
Anyway, first of all, I do want to address that anybody that says fire them all, but and claims not to be liberal has to might want to recheck, because that's a very liberal statement, and I'm not calling you liberal, but that is a very liberal statement to make.
Oh, see, I thought it was
Fire,
more of an
fire,
I thought it was more of an independent thing.
I listen. Independent and liberal have a very fine line, and
Okay.
I'm with you with fire 'em all, and I like to think I am not necessarily independent, because I think I lean still a little more to being democratic, but um yeah, fire 'em all. Let's hit the reset button. I get it, but okay, let me say this. In my opinion, that sounds very liberal.
Okay, that's fair.
Correct me, and I may
See,
be wrong. I
I
may be
don't
reading
like.
it
There's just
incorrectly.
stuff that I don't like on both sides.
Okay, I
That I don't like. So the red side wants to not tax the rich as much. The blue side is putting in, because I've always been a believer that it's it's a human nature that you should help your neighbor out. So if my neighbor's struggling and I'm doing well, and my neighbor comes to me and says, "Hey man, having a hard time making my mortgage. Can you lend me a couple of $100?" Absolutely, man, no problem. And if I keep paying his mortgage and I keep paying his mortgage, and all of a sudden he pulls in a new BMW one day, well, now I have a problem, because I'm like, I helped you for a minute, but why aren't you helping yourself? Why aren't you, you know, it's not that you don't pay me back, but stop asking me for something when you seem to be doing okay at this point in time. And I have a problem with that. Like, you help someone to a point where they get it. My friend Jeff did it for me, you know, in the fall of 2025, and I appreciate it. But, you don't keep taking and taking and taking and taking and taking and taking for
Right.
years. You take it to the point where, cool, thank you for the help. Now I'm back on my feet. I don't have to take anymore. Like, not the continuous taking that I think has gone on. And that's bothered me for a long time. The other problem that I have with both parties is we have a clear separation of church and state. And it drives me absolutely crazy when both sides bring church and God into play when it fits their needs. And, it kind of makes me, oh, well, in God we trust, and Jesus did this. Yeah, but Jesus is also, or the 10 Commandments were also against adultery. But all you motherfuckers have cheated on your wives and husbands at some point in time. Like, it just drives me crazy when you bring God into certain things and when it suits your needs.
Right. You're right. You're right. And I still think that when the government shuts down, I think Congress shouldn't get paid.
Absolutely. 1000%.
That would motivate them to get things done
Like,
instead of
any,
going, well, we'll worry about this so while we go on vacation. We'll
any,
worry about this later after we're back from vacation.
anyway,
And I want to say, not that they don't deserve vacations. Everyone who works deserves vacation time, but I don't know about you, Stephen, but I'm not allowed to leave work when my job isn't complete.
no, you work until the job's done, no matter what
Like
you do.
I don't know very many, and there are some in some cases, in some instances, but there are very few where if I don't complete my job, my work, that I will still have a job when I get back from vacation when said work is not done.
I think there are some of them that got into it with the idea of helping people. And then I think along the way, they realized how much themselves were being helped more by, doing other things. And I also think you get to a point where you can no longer relate to what the people you're representing are going through, because you don't have to go through it, or you've never gone through it before. You know what I mean? If you have, because a lot of congressmen are political families that have generational wealth and have been in that job for generations. So
Yep.
how is someone that, has never wanted for a thing supposed to understand what it's like to want to have to put food on your table, because you've never experienced? And you can say, yeah, man, I get it. No, you don't. Like, at no point in time have you ever stared at a paycheck and went, cool, man, I worked 60 hours last week and this paycheck is still not going to cover all the bills that I have to cover. You're not in that position.
Mhm.
So you don't know what that feels like. And stop pretending that you do on both sides,
Right.
because you don't. And I hate that. And that's kind of where my fire them all and start over. Stop
No,
making stop making
I agree.
Congress a game for the filthy rich, and make it a game where you actually are represented by, someone with more in common than what you have. Because again, there are
Mhm.
certain neighborhoods I watch on TV where you watch the politician roll through and talk to the people. I'm like, dude, you'll never be back in that neighborhood again. You have absolutely no idea what
Right.
it's like to live in that neighborhood. You're just shaking hands and kissing babies and trying to look, I'm a man of the people. No, you're not. Stop.
My favorite
Stop.
line, one of my favorite movie lines was from the Hunt for Red October. And um in the particular scene, a point where one of the politicians is talking to Jack Ryan and he says, I'm a politician. When I ain't kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops. And that always stuck in my head as a kid. I understood it, but as I got older, I understood what he was saying even more.
Yeah,
And it's sad that even now any political figure, and I'm not saying that every political figure is like that, but any political figure could say that statement.
yeah, for sure. For sure. But anyway, I go back to my
Um,
original
to
question.
your original question, um, it's tough for me to. I want to be very careful in what I say, uh, because sometimes your words can create particular issues for you at any point in time, especially when they are recorded like this.
Sure.
Um, first of all, to see the difference between the old Tennessee congressional map and the new Tennessee congressional map broke my heart. I don't even live in the state, and that broke my. And the Democrats have been attempting to do the same. California attempted. I saw recently another state recently uh petition the Supreme Court to redistrict their congressional map in their favor. But to see that happening, to first of all, to see that we're at a point in our society where we need either side feels that they need to cheat the line, move the goal line down, or I mean, to tip things in their favor. I guess is really what I'm getting at. It disgusts me. Um, and then when I saw that senator not able to even get into a political a political event that involved
His
his
district.
own district.
Yeah.
I, th- 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 it's hard not to think of, even as a black man at my age who didn't live that time, but the first thing that comes to my head is Jim Crow era.
Yeah.
We have taken such a, and I don't think it's a step back. We've taken a huge leap backwards.
Yeah. No, that's what it felt like. It was just I never thought I would see just that picture. I'm like, I never thought I would see that. And I'm like,
And the
it's just
comparison to, there was a picture comparing almost the same scenario
mhm.
years ago. And for me, and I know there are a lot of black people that feel this way, but most of us won't openly admit this. But I'm exhausted. I feel like yes, um, want to join together and take up the fight, take up the reins, but there's a part of me that just goes, for what?
Right.
They're gonna find another angle. They're just gonna do something else to tip themselves further, tip things further in their favor.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't like one sided. I never have. And I mean, I've voted in the elections that I voted with, I've voted both ways because I've been like, all right, cool. I think this guy's better for the job. All right. I think this guy's better for the job. Like, but I mean, it's just, to see that, I'm like, that's not what, I don't know.
And and
I grew up character over color. And it's as simple as that. And I think, is there bad character of people with a different skin color than mine? Absolutely. But I
absolutely,
also think there's bad character with people that have the same skin color as mine.
I
And
agree.
I don't think that you can,
And I want to make it clear. Um, I'm not asking for things to be tipped in my favor. I'm asking for things to be equal. Martin
no,
Luther King fought for equality.
correct.
It wasn't so that everything that for that for one particular race to get everything. It was for it to be right down the middle.
No, and that's where I think we made the mistake. I think when people threw a fit and I'm only going to go back, I'll go back the last 6 years. People threw a fit when Biden, I hate the term woke. I've always hated the term woke. People threw a
Me too.
fit when Biden was in office because, oh my God, we have to have, gay representation everywhere. We have to have, female representation everywhere, over almost oversaturated in some areas. And God, I'm going to take heat for that. And that's not what I mean, but I'm getting to a point now. We've swung the pendulum too far in the opposite direction, and it needs to come back in the middle. Do I think it's important that you see a gay character every now and again on a TV show? Yeah, I do. But
Hmm.
it's the parents' responsibility to explain to that kid what that character's about, not have it thrown in their face and told what it's
Yep.
about. And
Because that's how we grew up.
by the same token, I hate when people
Or
say,
at least me.
well, until a few years ago, there were no strong females. Yes, there were. Go back and watch some shit. There were some very strong females in strong female leadership roles along the way for years. Tried to live this lifestyle that you shouldn't have been living. And we're getting way off subject. I was trying to swing it back to,
I get it.
where I
No,
think the pendulum needs to be now. It needs to be balanced. And stop censoring TV. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If somebody tells a joke you don't like, no one's saying you have to go watch that comedian do a live performance. You don't have to watch their Netflix special or anything else. But there are probably people out there who might like what they're saying. So again, like we were so 5 years ago, we were so against cancel culture. Now it seems like every time you turn on the news, you got a politician wanting to cancel somebody.
um, there are things that I heard, I hear from a conservative standpoint now that I heard as a child. So those thoughts and values didn't change. It's just the volume got turned up.
Sure.
And it's drowned out a lot of the others who have been fighting to be heard and still fighting to be heard.
I agree. And it's kind of funny because go back and watch if you ever want to be entertained just for the sake of being entertained. One of the best things ever is during Hurricane Katrina when Mike Myers and Kanye West are hosting like one of the charity segments. And all of a sudden, Mike Myers says his line. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Kanye West responds with, George Bush hates black people. and you can see Mike Myers' face because Kanye will go off on Kanye's thing,
Yes.
and then Mike Myers will say his next line looking as uncomfortable as somebody could possibly
You're right.
look, and then Kanye will go back again. And like it's just, it's just now I can look at that and laugh, but it's just his reaction is priceless. But the sad thing about that now is you're seeing some of that stuff that never played out when Kanye said it was going to. Now all of a sudden it's starting to at least look like from an optic standpoint that it's playing out in a big way, especially in some places in the South. And I just think that is, and I understand the Southern culture is a little bit different than, where the Midwest and the North, where you grow up, and it depends on your area. But I'm with you. I just think that, I think things should be balanced. And there are times when my guy won, and there are times when my guy didn't win. But I just think that, we get places by being able to compromise. And I think when there's no compromise, it's going to cause a lot of distrust. It's going to cause a lot of bad things to happen. And I think it's just going to make things not pretty.
Lane Kiffin, coach of LSU, I don't quite care for Coach Kiffin. However,
does anybody?
There are. I choose not to comment on that.
He gets jobs.
He does. But he caught some flack over some comments he made about how different it is, and I'm paraphrasing, how different it is recruiting at LSU as opposed to how it was for him recruiting at Ole Miss.
Sure.
And I was watching one of the sports shows this morning, and they were talking about, in fact, a commentator, I don't quite care for him, but he says a lot of truths.
No, I can see that.
You grow up in Mississippi, you're used to the bullshit. You're used to the treatment. But you go there. You go there from somewhere else. It's a culture shock.
Right.
History has shown when the scale tips one way drastically, usually there is something to counteract that balance that happens.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see the end of the book, but
we'll see. I've seen images over the last 10 or 15 years. It's sad because every time I see one, I'm like, wow, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. And then something else comes along and I'm like, wow, never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
But here is, and maybe this is just something that is a part of growing up black. My mom warned me of times like this.
Okay.
My mom told me things like this would happen even in my adult years. So maybe it's part of this is all me choosing, with maybe even subconsciously, to live in the clouds.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot going on. This ain't something that just happened overnight.
No, it's not. No, it's been in the works for a long time. And again,
it's been always happening, and I think there's a part of me that wonders. Well, here we are, almost circling back to the term woke, but to know this is it's just been a part of life, and
yeah,
it's been there. I just wonder how blatantly in my face it always has been, and I just chose to look the other direction.
I can see that.
That's what...
Yeah, I can see. I get it, and I think that it circles back to what I said. I think there are a lot of people that, for whatever reason, seem to think that multimillionaires really care about what's going on in your everyday life, and I promise you, they just don't. Like they may say they do, but you know, like I don't believe for a minute that they actually do.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, all right. Well, now that we've pissed off the majority of people who would listen to us, next week I promise a lighter subject matter.
Oh, don't make that promise because we don't know what's going to happen in the world in the next 7 days. So let's not make that promise. Let's just hope.
I think I took a negative approach this week because this is the weekend where there's something that's happening this weekend that is just a reminder of the job that I had that I loved that lied to my face for 6 months and it went away from me wrongfully. And I will always believe that for the rest of my life. And this weekend is a reminder of that. So like, I will probably not be on social media that much because I don't want to see anything that's going on because it just pisses me off. And again, it's not that I have dislike for anybody. I hope everybody has a good time. I just don't want to witness it. So, it's kind of like when all you ever wanted was a chocolate chip ice cream cone, and all of a sudden some bastard kid comes and sits in front of you and starts eating a chocolate chip ice cream cone that you can't have. It doesn't make you feel good.
Oh my God. Hey, listen, follow us, like us, love us, comment. We love your comments on the socials. We're across the board. Thank you so much for listening.
I'm gonna go get a chocolate chip ice cream cone.
I'm trying to. I will never look at chocolate chip ice cream ever the same again. Thank you so much for that, Steven.
That's what I'm here for.
Between you with the chocolate chip ice cream comment, and a friend of mine, Eric, who we both know Eric Middlebrooks. Yeah. He was in the band.
Oh, there.
He ruined those Christmas cookies with the Hershey Kiss.
I know what you're talking about. Don't say it.
In the middle.
Don't you dare ruin it.
I did it. I won't. But he ruined those cookies for me, and I it's a struggle to even eat those at Christmas time because of the comment he made to me years ago.
Hey, I mean, that's the least we can do before we get out of here is kill your appetite. Have a great day.